I'm getting into some Super Bowl 53 odds now. I'm taking a look at some of the teams that have improved themselves big time so far in free agency. So I'm going to go through some teams here and the latest Super Bowl 53 odds. And you see how the number changes. So let's take a look at graphic number 1, for example. The Houston Texans, they were 25-1 to open up. They're now 22-1. Why is that? Well, they have addressed many needs. Number 1, they signed 3 offensive linemen to hopefully improve a unit that just was not very good a year ago. Struggled big time in pass protection. Oh, by the way, you insert Tyrann Mathieu back there in that secondary. The Honey Badger will certainly improve things for a team that did not rank very well according to passing yards allowed. Jonathan Joseph remaining in town, great veteran corner. Bringing in Aaron Colvin at the slot corner position. I think it should be a very improved secondary for the Houston Texans in 2018. All of a sudden, the AFC South could have a collection of very good defenses, folks. The Jags are the Jags. You have the Texans that will get Watt back healthy, we would assume. And the Titans have a very good front seven, and they recently added Malcolm Butler to that secondary. So, kind of funny to think about. The AFC South used to be a punchline, and now all of a sudden, you could have a couple of playoff teams coming out of that division in the AFC. So, Houston, big-time movers up the Super Bowl 53 odds rankings. Sticking with the AFC South theme here, the Jacksonville Jaguars opened up at 28-1 odds. They have now moved to 22-1 odds, thanks to a few signings here, headlined by Andrew Norwell, who I could talk about until the sun goes down, one of the best guards in the National Football League. The Jaguars' offensive line a year ago really struggled in run-blocking ability. Insert Andrew Norwell. You got Linder there in the interior as well. A.J. Cann has to play better. But I think Norwell will be a huge improvement for that run game, and that's what the Jags want to do. They want to hammer you right in your face with Leonard Fournette, little play action with Blake Bortles down the field, and perhaps some red zone opportunities for one ASJ, Austin Safarian Jenkins, now a member of the Jaguars as well. Also brought in Niles Paul, former Redskin, and you've got Dante Moncrief on the outside. So all those additions are really going to help Jacksonville make that AFC push. Losing Allen Robinson really doesn't affect the Jags all that much, in my eyes. Because, look, I mean, Allen Robinson was going to go. I didn't think the Jaguars were going to be able to afford him. Even the franchise tag was way too expensive for Allen Robinson, especially for somebody coming off an ACL injury. So bringing in Dante Moncrief, a guy I like a lot, will perform really well for the Jacksonville Jaguars. If I'm a GM, by the way, I think improving an offensive line is way more important than retaining a wide receiver, especially a wide receiver coming off an ACL injury. So bringing in Andrew Norwell, very important. Letting Allen Robinson walk to the Chicago Bears, that's okay. Jaguars, 28-1, now 22-1. The Oakland Raiders made a jump, 33-1 odds to open up. They're now 22-1, same as the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, the whole Ndamukong Suh thing, tough to see, canceled his visit, all that. The Raiders, despite that, seem to have improved pretty well. Now, they added Jordy Nelson while cutting Michael Crabtree. I think John Gruden has a methodology in mind, and he wants to execute it. And I am not going to think past John Gruden. This is a guy who's probably one of the most intelligent minds in football. So he's implementing a system here. All right, he wants the right players on the roster. So insert Jordy, goodbye Michael Crabtree, now a member of the Baltimore Ravens, who I think will perform really well for Joe Flacco in that offense. Doug Martin comes to town. So now we've got Marshawn Lynch, Doug Martin. We've got Washington at the running back position as well. Jalen Richard there too. Will be a very interesting committee here. So you got that at the running back position, and Gruden is running things the old-fashioned way, it seems. Taking the game back to 1998, as he once said, and I think the pairing of Marshawn Lynch and Doug Martin, along with adding fullback Keith Smith, indicate as such that the Raiders want to hammer it away. They got the NFL's most expensive offensive line. Why not utilize it? Gabe Jackson, Hudson, one of the premier pass protectors, but a great run blocker as well. Why not utilize that front five? So Derek Carr on the play action, down the field to Amari Cooper and Jordy Nelson. Shaping up to be a pretty darn good team in my eyes with the Oakland Raiders there. 22-1 odds to capture Super Bowl 53. How about a jump for the Chicago Bears? They had long shot odds to open up after Super Bowl 52, 100-1 odds. They're now 80-1. The Bears, of course, the winners of the Allen Robinson sweepstakes, 3-year, $42 million deal. Robinson, just 2 years removed from that breakout 1,400-yard, 14-touchdown performance back in 2015. Also, Bears fans and really NFL fans in general, don't sleep on the additions here of Taylor Gabriel and Trey Burton. I think they will be very impactful on that offense there for Matt Nagy, who is the new head coach there in Chicago, and Mitchell Trubisky, I think, has the tools now to be a quarterback in the NFL. He didn't have the tools last year. Dontrell Inman and Kevin White, who was often injured, and all this, Kendall Wright as well. Now Mitchell Trubisky has the opportunity to make that step as a quarterback in the National Football League. Meanwhile, for the defense, I think it's ultra important that they are retaining Kyle Fuller and Prince Amukamara, 2 corners that played pretty darn well a year ago. They did lose Pernell McPhee and Willie Young, or at least most likely will lose them. So I'd expect the Bears to address their front 7 via the draft. And then with that, who knows, guys? Who knows what the Bears can do? They're at 80-1 odds to win Super Bowl 53. How about the Cleveland Browns? Check out these odds, folks. 100-1 to open up, now 66-1. For Cleveland Browns fans, and looking at a team that went 0-16 a year ago, 66-1 odds is probably going to make you pretty excited, at least for a Browns fan. So the Browns are now ahead of the Jets, the Bengals, the Bears, the Miami Dolphins, and are tied with the Buffalo Bills and Arizona Cardinals in terms of Super Bowl 53 odds. So the Browns, of course, added Jarvis Landry, Tyrod Taylor, Carlos Hyde. You got Demarius Randall on the defensive side as well. A couple of offensive linemen in Chris Hubbard and Donald Stevenson. Losing Joe Thomas to retirement obviously hurts. You would have liked to have Joe Thomas there at left tackle for your rookie quarterback if he gets a starting opportunity in 2018, but not the case. I think these odds actually get even better, guys, after the draft is over. Think about it. The Browns have number 1 and number 4 overall. Are you kidding me? Only up from here when you get an 0-16 campaign in 2017. The Browns went wild in free agency. They can go wild in the draft. They are setting themselves up to be very competitive in the AFC North. I'm not going to say it's going to happen in 2018, but I'm saying they're setting themselves up to do so. Maybe a third-place finish ahead of the Bengals. That'd be a win for many Browns fans out there, I'm sure. All right, and then the Minnesota Vikings, they improved from 12-1 to 9-1. This is notable because, well, they got Kirk Cousins. So that obviously counts for something. Only 3 quarterbacks have averaged more yards per attempt on downfield passes in the last 2 seasons. Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, and then there's Kirk Cousins. The defense got richer with Sheldon Richardson. So the pieces are all there for Minnesota. When you have a team that went 13-3 and captured the number 2 seed in the NFC with Case Keenum at the helm, the only way the Vikings can improve is a trip to Atlanta in Super Bowl 53. So, yeah, they're looking pretty darn good, Minnesota Vikings are. Manny chiming in the comment section here on the Cam Rogers Show. 49ers. Manny, great segue, my man. I appreciate the comment. Let's check in with those 49ers. They opened up at 20-1 odds, now 14-1 odds to capture Super Bowl 53. Why? Well, you got the big-time contract for Jimmy Garoppolo, who looked fantastic in 2017. You bring in your center in Weston Richburg, who, albeit, was hurt for the Giants last year, but he is a fantastic player. I think he will mold really well in Kyle Shanahan's zone run block scheme. Very athletic centers are needed for zone blocking. Got to get those reach blocks in. I think Richburg can do that. So, very important signing there. Extension for Marquise Goodwin, which is a signal to me that the 49ers are investing a lot in this kid, and I think he's a great player. Pierre Garçon coming back from injury. You got Trent Taylor at the slot position, who is forming into his own as well, heading into his second year. So it's all there on the offensive side. Oh, yeah, Richard Sherman at cornerback, opposite Akella Witherspoon. You got Adrian Colbert at the safety position, too. K'Wan Williams at slot corner. All those pieces are there, except one thing. I think the 49ers have to address linebacker with the ongoing legal situation with Reuben Foster, as well as pass rushing and edge rusher ability. Other than that, the 49ers are shaping up to be pretty darn good. We'll see what Joshua Garnett can do at guard, by the way. We didn't see him back in 2017 due to injury. Lincoln Tomlinson was not good, so Garnett could get that second guard position. We'll see. Brandon Fusco, by the way, moved on to free agency. So the interior of the offensive line is still a little bit of a concern. But for San Francisco, 14-1 odds, pretty darn good, and that'll excite the Niner Empire. All right, folks, so let's summarize. Most improved Super Bowl 53 odds here. We got the Texans, Jacksonville Jaguars, Oakland Raiders, Chicago Bears, followed by Cleveland Browns, Minnesota Vikings, and the San Francisco 49ers.